Yeah, baby, we're back.
Yes, and it's always a pleasure to have any guests, and then but I feel like week after week, it's just like we're like sort of outdoing each other.
We're leveling up.
Exactly.
This guest almost feels like we scored an amazing volley against Mexico. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to take credit for that goal.
It's 100% out. You know? But ladies and gentlemen, unless you're driving, put your hands together for the one, the only, the star, if you will, of Sporting Kansas City. Put your hands together for Benny Feilhaber, everybody.
Hey, Benny, how's it going, man?
Thanks for having me on, guys. This is it's quite an experience being on your show.
Thank you.
That's an honor. Look, I don't even know if you knew who we were before right now, but if you did, that's very incredibly flattering.
Let's just pretend he did.
Oh, there goes the light. Let me turn the light back on.
Immediately, as soon as he said you didn't know who we were, he's gone.
I thought it was, I thought it was like technical difficulties on our side, but apparently,
Benny Feilhaber has smoke bombs.
something's up.
I'm in our meeting room, and I guess it's sensory or something. So I'll stay close to the sensor here.
All right, cool. That's hilarious. It's So we need to work on Swope Park Village. They need to fix a couple of the electrician.
We'll talk to electricians.
So, I mean, Benny, why don't to start? I mean, you've played for a couple different teams. You've been around this country a little bit. You've played for the national team. I guess just where the fans have definitely heard of you. They've chanted your name. Sometimes probably not in with a loving tone. So why don't you just kind of give the fans an idea of what the season has been like for you back Sporting Kansas City and how that feels?
Well, the season's been tough. I mean, it started off in Colorado, and I went there as a free agent. A lot of changes in the offseason for Colorado, and I expected to have a pretty competitive team there. And so I decided to go there and kind of start something fresh. And it was very tough first 10 games. We didn't win any of the games. I think we drew 2 and lost 8. And it didn't look like it was going in the right direction. And me being kind of close to the end of my career, I wanted to try and find somewhere where I could play on a competitive team. And so Kansas City was interested with some of the injuries that they had, and they were able to, get a trade for me. And so I came back here, was excited, a lot of good memories here, a lot of good years here, and a lot of good friends that, we had been really successful with. And so came back here, and it's been tough here too. This year hasn't been easy. They were in Champions League before, a lot of injuries, a lot of tired bodies after an early start, and we've seen it happen before with teams in the past. And so it's been a grind. We're still trying to fight it out and see if we can scrape some results to try and get in the playoffs, but obviously not going to be easy here with the last 8 games.
When it comes to those moves, right, but that player movement, and I heard you talking to Taylor Rockwell on Total Soccer Show, which was a great interview that you did, and you had mentioned basically the strain of moving your family and all these things and not knowing exactly where you were going to be. But moving from Colorado to Sporting Kansas City, how much was it sort of in your control? Because you had mentioned like the difficulty with player movement within MLS.
Yeah, player movement in MLS is tough because most of the times the player has no say in where they're going, a lot of times. And so for me, it was a bit different. I had spoken to the GM in Colorado, and he understood my situation. And I explained to him how I, wanted to play for a competitive team. And unfortunately, Colorado wasn't that at the time. And he understood that. And he kind of helped me find a place where I would be happy. I didn't know that Kansas City was going to be a team that was interested, but thankfully they were. And, my family was here for 5 years. Both of our daughters were born here, and we know how awesome it is to grow a family here. And so it was not, any kind of hardship for my family. It was something that I was seeking, and we were very happy that it happened. So it was a very big positive for us this season.
Also, let it be noted that if you trade Benny Feilhaber, you will get the plague. Right? You get some of that Brazilian curse.
when I saw that tweet by Colorado Rapids that the plague was in Commerce City, I had to text some of my friends back in Colorado and asking what the hell is going on over there.
Yeah. How did you guys find a time portal to 1452? How is that possible?
Frogs jumping out of the sky and stuff. I don't know what's going on.
I remember when I read that, I was like, which plague are they talking? The plague? Like bubonic? Like, what are we talking about here? But so you've played in a bunch of different places. You've always been someone that I've sort of recognized as somewhat of a creative midfielder, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is the one thing that one of your skill sets or something about you that has been overlooked by a lot of coaches?
Overlooked? I don't know.
His beauty.
I mean,
yeah, I think most people see that. Although with the years I'm accruing here, it's starting to fade a little bit. I need to become the silver fox, like with the George Clooney look. So
sure.
We'll see if that comes. But I would say I've always thought that I'm a very good one-on-one defender, and most people don't see that. And so maybe you guys will notice it now. Whenever there's one guy, setting up to try and dribble me, I try and take a lot of pride in not allowing that to happen. So I've told Ike before, and we've had arguments on BS the podcast as well, of me converting to center back, and I think I could be a good center back in this league, but most people don't believe me.
Yeah,
we'll see if I ever get a chance.
Just give Matt Beasler a noogie and be like, hey, I'll show you how it's done, buddy.
Yo, Bees, step aside, my guy. Go ahead.
So I was gonna ask. So this was one of our questions from our Gully Squad members, right? One of our bigger fans. So Michael Samela, he's a Colorado Rapids fan, right? And he asked, what was it like playing for Anthony Hudson? And he asked, was he as bad as he seemed?
And I really liked Anthony as a person. I thought he's a workaholic. He tries to do everything to fix the team, to fix us tactically. It just literally none of his ideas were clicking with our group. I don't know if it was the players that he had didn't really fit into the system that he was trying to implement, but it didn't work. And he tried to change things, and literally I bet this guy would not sleep at night. He would watch game tape over and over and over again. In preseason, I could hear he was the room above us, and I could hear him at nighttime listening to game tape. And so, as a coach for us, it didn't work. Obviously, the results show that, and it wasn't any better on the training field. It was difficult. It was hard. All the players were frustrated by it. I know that he was frustrated by it. But at the same time, I've seen him be successful in other places. Like in New Zealand, he was successful. And so it just didn't work out in Colorado. It wasn't something that was pretty in any way. I think he would agree with that as well. And, for that reason, I think that's why the team and he moved on.
For those of us who've never played, and you've seen what we look like, so we never played. For those of us who never played, and for our fans who've never played professional soccer, how much of it is it sort of like this lightning in a bottle, where the type of inspirational, talks, the tactics, the training, the players being prepared for it, and all of those things sort of have to merge in order for you to be able to win a championship? Is that what it is, or is there something else that can sway it? Is it this thing where sort of it has to all fit in magically?
First of all, I don't think it has. I think the talks, the motivational talks, are almost 0% in my opinion. But having said all that, what you asked, I think yes. I think it to some degree it is in MLS, lightning in a bottle. If you go to some other leagues, there's a reason why Bayern Munich wins Bundesliga all the time, and why Man City or Liverpool are winning at this, in Premier League the last few years. They've got the best players. They probably have some of the top coaches in the world, and the talent speaks for itself. In MLS, it's different. There's a cap, so there's not one team that's going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars more than all the other teams, and so there is a sense of a little bit of lightning in a bottle, where even more so with the playoff system, that a team playing well at the time that has, like you said, the right tactical approach with the players that they have, certain players playing at their highest level at the time, the team playing with confidence. And so all those things, I think, make a big, big difference when it comes down to it in MLS.
I'm curious. We had another question from, I believe, I think a Galaxy fan, if I'm not mistaken. But your time at LAFC was that first year. Obviously, it's an incredibly entertaining team. I know it didn't work out at the end of your tenure there, but like. I'm curious. Your time at LAFC. How do you kind of look back on it? And Art Moreno asked, what was the feeling like being a part of that first at Tráfico?
I look at it very fondly. My first year, or my only year there, and the first year for the franchise, I thought we were a very good team with a lot of good players. You could see that the team was only going to improve under Bob, under the players that were there, and obviously we see the results of it this season. The fan base, I don't even know how that fan base got built so quickly, and there's so much, pride in the stands and, love for the team, for a team that, has been around for a year and a half. And so it's pretty amazing. The whole, you can't say one bad thing about the entire organization. So it was awesome to be part of that. And I still watch a lot of their games because I know, all the players, and it's an exciting brand of soccer to watch. And so, everything there was awesome. In terms of the El Tráfico, the first one was very painful. We started off the season really well with 2 wins on the road. We come to El Tráfico and at StubHub, or whatever it's called now. It was StubHub back last year.
Dignity Health Sports Park.
Dignity Health, yeah, exactly. And so we have probably like 3,000 fans in the stands before the game starts when we go out to look at the field an hour before the game, before warm-ups. And it was incredible. We could only hear our fans. And we go out there and we destroyed them the first half. We're up 2-0. We get a third goal in the beginning of the second half. I mean, it feels like we're cruising, right? Everything's going well for our team. About to have 9 points in the first 3 road games of the year. And then, all hell breaks loose. I lost the ball in the midfield. They get 1. Our team starts to, get nervous, lose our confidence a little bit. I think the fact that we didn't have an identity, established yet because we're such a young team, we kind of didn't know how to maintain that result. And ultimately we succumbed to Zlatan, and so he comes on, scores that ridiculous goal, and eventually gets the 4th one at the end. And so it was a moment that I'm sure they still look back on and try and use it as not only motivation, but a stepping stone to learn how to deal with games. And I think they've done a much better job this year. But it's one that I think for the benefit of the league and the rivalry, I think it was fantastic, but it hurts obviously being part of an LAFC member.
Was it on your mind that Zlatan's about to get in this game and this is going to be some sort of moment, or I'm gonna have to handle this giant?
Or do you whisper to Zimmerman his knees are weak, dude?
But his knees aren't weak. His legs are tree trunks. So I don't even think you can do that. But yeah, I honestly remember us going up 3-0, and obviously we knew Zlatan was on the bench, and we're thinking at 3-0, this guy might not even come in, which is perfect. We don't even have to deal with him the first game, right? Let him settle into the league. We can kind of see what he does in other games. We don't have to be the first team, the guinea pig, to have him, debut against us. And then when we gave up the first goal, I remember thinking, I was like, damn it, we gave up that. I lost the ball. We gave up that goal, and now it's almost guaranteed he's coming in this game, and we're gonna have to deal with whatever he brings on. And so, we brought it on ourselves. It was unfortunate, but yeah, it was a moment where we were hoping we didn't have to deal with him, and we had to in a big way.
All right.
Speaking of all the different places where you've played, let's talk a little bit about where you lived. You grew up in Rio de Janeiro, right? A few years.
Yep.
And then you moved to the greatest place on earth, New York, right?
That's right. But I lived outside the city. But
you were in Scarsdale.
Yeah.
For 8 years. Did you pick up any accent?
3 years. 3 years.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Somebody needs to update your Wikipedia, my guy.
Oh, well, I don't touch Wikipedia, but I always notice this. There's some weird things in there. I know there's a thing that said that I was part of some government in Denmark, city council, something like that.
That's hilarious.
Was I?
Yeah.
Was I ever part of the city?
It's on my business card now. I don't know what to tell you.
You're speaking to Senator Feilhaber. Have some respect.
Amazing.
But yeah, I lived in Scarsdale for 3 years. It was from 6 till I was 9, so it was a good time. I loved it there. It was I played a lot of soccer. It was the first time I started playing soccer on a field pitch, because in Brazil I played futsal. And so, I loved it there. Made a lot of friends. Was the best player on my elementary school. It was a lot of fun.
All right. I want to talk about your podcast, but before that, I want to talk a little bit about Sporting Kansas City. What's the sentiment like? How are things feeling? I know the beginning of the season felt incredible, right? Obviously, in Champions League, and then yes, you mentioned the injuries, and I feel like they kind of brought in Benny to like kind of right the ship, right? What is the feeling now? Because you have a game coming up against your buddy Ike Opara this week, and then you just had a great win over the weekend. It's an insane goal. What a great time to have Benny Feilhaber on this show, because
this is what we do. When we message you to come on the show, you score golazos.
So it gives you that confidence. But what's it? Yeah, go for it.
I was just going to say, and we had Wando on right before we played him as well, and he scored. So just whoever comes on the show for us and for you guys is going to score goals.
So reach out to either one of us if you want to come on the show.
You just got to be careful, because if you get them on your show and then they score against you, that's not Vermees is not going to be happy about that.
No, we got to stop asking guys that we're playing against.
Yeah, Vermees is going to start to produce your podcast just to make sure.
But what's been the feeling like for Sporting Kansas City and trying to get into the playoffs and trying to kind of fix what's been going on?
Yeah, it's been tough, man. I mean, it's like we said, just with the best teams in the league, it's sometimes a little bit of lightning in a bottle where you can find that good balance of everything, and we're trying to find that. And right now, it's the opposite. We get a good result, then we get a bad result. We fight through something, win on the road, then we come home and we lose a big game at home. So we haven't been able to overcome some of the problems that we faced in the beginning of the year with injuries and fatigue. And now we're just trying to, get back to the kind of team that we know we can be and get that confidence back. I think that's the biggest thing. Knowing, when you have that confidence, you just know you're going into a game, and regardless if you make a mistake, you're going to win the game. You're going to come back and you're going to make something happen. You're going to score a goal. If somebody makes a mistake, somebody's going to, Tim is going to save us in the back, or Beasler or whatever. And so right now it just feels like every mistake we make leads to a goal, and all the chances that we create somehow don't go in. And then when something goes well, like San Jose, we fight through the second half, we come back and win 2-1. We just hope we can complement it with another win against Minnesota. Other than that, we don't have some golden secret rule that we can come up with to fix our problems. It's just continue to grind, work, and try and make something happen on the game days.
Just realistically, like watching Sporting Kansas City, I'm not the last couple of years, I'm not used to watching you guys struggle. You know what I mean? Like, to go through these spells. So that's been like
it's been so consistent.
Yeah. So that
right.
out of any word to describe Sporting Kansas City, consistent is like the one that comes to mind. So it's like I feel bad when they struggle, because I'm like, I don't want to see this.
Especially because we have friends that are fans of the team. We're like, come on.
And plus, we had Matt Beasler and Seth Sinovic on the show talking about their clothing line. So clearly,
that's right.
Everybody involved in Sporting Kansas City has a nice side hustle, right? Yeah. Benny's getting into the podcast
Speaking
game.
of side hustle, Benny's in a podcast game. He's trying to come up in our lane. Right? Okay. We're going to show him we're good one-on-one defenders. Okay.
No, we're on the same team. You guys got to assist us. That's what we got to do.
Okay,
that's it. All right, we'll do that.
No, but the BS the podcast, which is great, and I love that Ike Opara is on the show, and he's not in the title of the show. He is just
he is not in the acronym of the show, because I feel like IBS might not be that great.
That's a podcast I listen to.
Yes.
But so we have him now. We have BS the podcast featuring Ike Opara. So we're getting there. He's, as long as we keep him satisfied, we know he's an important part of the show.
No, it's great to see. But it is before we got on air, we were talking about like how cool it is to see. There's something you can get from players talking to each other that you can't get from like a journalist or anybody. There's a locker.
Yeah, because y'all keep it tight when we ask you questions.
Yo, what's up with that, man?
I know y'all got to be mad political. You get it. You're in the government in Germany.
I'm not political, dude. I'll give you most of the answers. If I can't answer it, I'll tell you otherwise. But I'm not one of those political types.
Yeah, you're a little different, but it is fun to see you and other players interact, because you guys You guys, it's almost like when comedians talk to each other. It's different than when anybody talks to a comedian because we kind of all get it. We've been through the grind. We understand what we're going through. You guys do the same thing. So give the fans just a little bit of an idea of what kind of conversations you'd like to have on your show.
Yeah, our conversations are wide open. I mean, if you've ever seen The Shop with, LeBron James produced show where people are just sitting around, we're talking, we're having a good time, we're asking questions about our guest's career or their season, and it's very open and very not formal. And the production value is not the greatest, but I think that goes hand in hand with what we're trying to do. So we just have a lot of fun, and it's been really cool seeing the kind of feedback that we've gotten and also the kind of conversations that we've had with guys that we like around the league.
Is there any particular episode or story that stands out that you want people to listen to? Because I know when I heard the Patrick Vieira story from Sean Johnson, that was hilarious. I just love the absolute pettiness of because especially coaches have to be like, oh, we're this. When I think of Peter Vermees, I think of
stoic,
army general.
Right, yeah.
So I'm sure there's other moments that where people show a lot more vulnerability. But is there any episode in particular of maybe a story that you heard from somebody that you were like, oh, I'm glad I'm doing this podcast?
Yeah, there's been a few of those. I think the Wando episode was awesome. He actually told probably 2 or 3 stories that I had never heard before that were fantastic. One about him kicking balls at the Raider game, and he might have been a little bit tipsy after I don't know how many beers in the stands.
Oh, sure.
And he was knocking these footballs through from 50 yards, but I guess once they gave him a soccer ball to boot in the stands, he almost hit a sideline reporter. So
hilarious.
That was pretty amazing. And then we just had our.
Did you say Kaku did that, or?
Yeah, Kaku actually did do that. So I think I don't know if we could talk about that because I'm pretty sure there's some
lawsuit, yeah,
litigation pending.
But we actually just interviewed Carlos Vela last night, and that's going to drop tomorrow morning. And I think some of the fans will really be interested to see the stories that he talks about with the national team, with LAFC, with some of his previous clubs, Arsenal, and so it was really fun talking to him.
He's just talking about how much he hates soccer and loves basketball. Yeah. What a strange man.
he
20 minutes of hair product.
He doesn't hate soccer, but he does love basketball. That's for sure.
It's such a strange thing, but it's great to see, man. The podcast is very fun, so people should listen to it. What is you say you're done with your career? What is is this the game you want to get into? This media sort of style, this kind of loose, in-depth player MLS kind of access?
I'm not sure yet. Honestly, I'm not sure. I think for sure I'm staying within the game. I love, soccer ever since I was a little kid. I've loved playing it. I've loved being around it. So when I'm done, I think I'll try and test the waters a little bit, whether it be trying to be a coach or GM in the league. I think for the most part, I'd like to be closer to the game because I'm so competitive. But I do think that the media aspect of it, whether I'm, doing podcasts or being a commentator on TV, is something that I could see myself getting into as well.
Well, I'll give you a bit of I guess a positive. We speak to a lot of players. Not many of them have the personality you have. So if you want to get in media, not that we're gatekeepers in any way, shape, or form, but I think if anyone, you should have a microphone. And please don't get into comedy. I know you have to run. I want one last question. This is from Nick Lageman, who's one of our Gully Squad members. He wants me to ask you if you're okay with barbecue on pizza, and I want you to recall the time in which you lived in the New York vicinity. Okay. And know that you have a lot riding on this, including any future German political career. Barbecue on pizza, is that okay?
Barbecue on pizza? I don't even know what that means.
Thank you. That's a good answer.
Okay,
we'll take it. I don't know if they mean barbecue sauce or barbecue.
I love chicken barbecue pizza. I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, that actually just offended me. All right, so. Well, Nick, you got the answer. I'm crying. I'm glad. Where can people follow you, and where can people find the podcast?
The podcast is on Apple Podcasts. BS the Podcast is the name of it. You can find it on YouTube as well. We'll put the videos up, and then follow us on Twitter, on Instagram. We'll always put little video clips up as well. And Spotify, all the platforms you can pretty much find our podcast on.
All right, Benny. Yeah, well, best of luck at the game on Thursday. Is it home or away?
It's at home, so Ike's coming to town.
Okay, so hopefully he gets a nice little applause and during introductions. But then he is viciously booed for the rest of the game.
I'm hoping he doesn't even play because they got an Open Cup game coming up. It'd be nice if he just sat on the bench.
Okay,
Yeah, take it easy.
Exactly.
Aye.
Work on, bits for the podcast.
Right.
Well, Benny, best of luck in the game and best of luck for the rest of the season. We hope Sporting Kansas City rights the ship and makes it to the playoffs. It'll be a shame to not have Sporting Kansas City in the playoffs. So I wish you guys the best.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it, guys.
What a great interview. Benny.
Fenny.
Benny Feilhaber.
Fenny Wap.
Maybe he knows Gucci Gonzalez.
All right, good. Alexis, as you see, if you're a new listener, not good with words.
It's not a strong point of mine.
Word, letters,
Reading it, writing it,
numbers,
speaking.
So that's what I'm here. Okay. So Benny Feilhaber, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Great dude, super fun. I like, especially we always say this, like the MLS players that have been around the league a little bit, been around the block.
Yeah.
They're just like down to earth, cool, fun, have stories. They get it.
They get it.
So I'm glad we could get him on the show and
listen to his podcast.
Yeah, listen to BS. The podcast is great.
And we've been saying his podcast is BS. Remember that we were saying that privately.
Day one.
So it's just the name.
As soon as they created a Twitter account, we're like, "Yo, this is BS.
This is garbage." No, it's great. It's an absolute great listen.
And we have spoken to his co-hosts, Ike Opara and Sal Ziza, who have expressed interest in doing the show.
Oh, well, come on.
So we might have the whole BS crew out here.
All right. So, our show's got nothing but BS on it.
That's right. Top to bottom, BS. Well, yo, what's that smell? Yeah, that's BS.
Good question. Fenny Feilhaber was just here.
So again, thanks for listening to the show. We appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Thank you all the new listeners. Shout out to Casey for the love.
To Casey.
Yeah, man, you're our hero, man. Thank you so much.
You a real G, guy.
Exactly. So with that said, my name is Christian Polanco.
I'm Alexis Guerreros.
And together, what are we?
The Cooligans!
What's up? It's the world champion, Judah Friedlander, and you're watching the Cooligans. Why? Because you're cool. This is what winners look like right here, man.
I mean, you're looking at us.
Right now with my legs, I just juggled the ball 80,000 times.
You missed it.
Yeah.
He's been playing keepy uppy since I met him.
Yep, look faster, guys.
Go Team USA.